Okay, here's a video for assignment number 1. It's 3.5a and 3.6a. So you can see they're here on the website, today's website. And below this, you have your Desmos. You can actually use it inside the website if you want to, or you can click in here and do your equations, or you can just open it up in a new window and use it in another little tab. And then right below it here is your Google Doc for your graphs. So you'll click on that and it'll make your own copy of this paper. You'll have your own copy and you'll screenshot your graphs here. 3.5a, we're doing 1 through 4, and then 3.5 puzzle, 1 through 7, and then 3.6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 7, 8, and then 13 through 16. So those are going to be on this link right here, right below the Desmos. All right, so let's get to it. We have our worksheet right here. It just says solve by graphing. Check your solutions. Well, we're gonna solve it. Maybe we'll plug in the origin in each one and see if it's correct. So we want to graph both of these equations on Desmos. Like I said, you have Desmos inside your website. You could also open up Desmos in a new link, and that would work as well. Just desmos.com. And it opens up, and you just hit graphing calculator, but it's located inside the website as well. You have y equals x plus 6, so you're just going to type that in, y equals x plus 6. So you get, that's a linear equation. You got two coordinates here on the y and the x-axis, and then all these coordinates also would be on anything on the line is a correct answer. Your second equation is 1/2 x plus 6 squared. So y equals 1/2, so 1 over 2, 1/2, and then use the right arrow and then hit a parentheses, x plus 6, close parentheses, hit the shift and the 6 to get to the up arrow, and hit a 2. And there is your equation for that one. So it says solve by graphing. Now, graphing means you will see where the two graphs intersect. So if you look at this, they intersect here. Now, it does tell you on your paper they want the graphs in blue and green and plot the answer points in red. Okay, so blue and green, I got a blue and red. So let's change this color, use the wheel. I'm going to change that to green. Okay, and then my answers are these two answers where they touch. So -4 and 2. So let's plot that point. -4, comma 2. Okay, right now it's green, so we're going to change that to red for the points. Okay, so that point's red. That's what it's asking us to do there. Make the answer points in red. Okay, so that's one of them. The second answer is -6, 0 down here at the bottom. So -6, 0. That one we also want red. And we could also have them label them so that we actually see the answers on the graph. Okay, so there's your solution to number 1. You're going to do your screenshot. So Control Alt F8 or Control Alt and the window button at the top, or you can just do a snipping tool as well if you want to. I'm going to go over here and click into number 1 and Control V, paste it, or you can hit edit and then paste it. Either way it works. It'll paste, and that'll be your answers. You got your two answers. So the graph of a linear equation is a straight line. The graph of a quadratic is a curve, and those two cross at these 2 points. So -6, 0, if it says check your answer, if I put in a -6 and a 0, you can see that -6 plus 6 would equal 0. If I put in a -6 and a 0, you get 0 squared, which is 0 times 1/2 is 0. So that does work. That point does work. If you plug in the other point, it will work as well. So on the worksheet that you have, you should write down the answer next to it. So we would put negative 6, 0. Oops, hold on a second. Sorry about that. Okay, so negative 6, 0 is 1 point. And the other one was negative 4 and 2. So negative 4, 2. Okay, so that's how you're going to do 1 through 4. I'll do number 3 as well, 1 and 3. So you should be able to just type in 2 and 4. Just type them in exactly as you see them. Find out where they intersect, and those are your 2 answers, or 1 answer. If there's only 1 answer, then there's only 1. Negative x plus 3. Let's get rid of everything here. Y equals negative x plus 3. So that's a negative slope. So you can see it sloping downward. Negative slopes. And then we have 3x squared minus 4x plus 3. 3x squared minus 4x, y equals 3x. So you got to hit the shift and the 6 to get to the exponent, and then hit the right arrow to get to the next one, which is negative 4x and then plus 3. Negative 4x and plus 3. Zoom in, and you'll see there's a vertex down there that they were having, but there are 2 solutions here where they touch, 1, 2, and 0, 3. So let's go ahead and plot those. 1, 2, 0, 3. We want the 2 graphs to be in green and blue, and they want the 2 points to be in red. Okay, we want to label the 2 points. And there you go. There's your 2 answers, 0, 3, 1, 2. You can get your screenshot or your snipping tool if you wanted to. Go back here. This was number 3, so you click into number 3, and I'll just do the edit and paste this time. Edit, paste, and that shows me the graphs of these 2. It shows me exactly where they intersect. So if I plug in a 0 for x and a 3 for y, it should work. So if I put in a 0 for x, 0 plus 3 is 3. So yes, 0, 3 would work. If I put all these as zeros, 0 minus 0 plus 3 would be 3. So we know 0, 3 does work. So let's put that answer down. Okay, and the other solution was 1, 2. So 0, 3, and 1, 2. Okay, so there's your answers for 1 and 3. 2 and 4 look the same, so I'm not going to take too much time on the video to do that. Right now, you haven't really had to take any notes except write these 2 answers down for these. You're just going to be doing your ones on the graph as well, just the Desmos. 5 and 6. So they want to just say solve by looking at the graph. So this one you have 1 solution. So these only touch one place. You can see number 5 and 6. So number 5, we could put 1 solution, and it's the point 1, 2. 1 solution. It only crosses once. Those 2 graphs only touch once. These 2 graphs don't touch, so we're going to have to put no solution. They don't ever touch. So when they don't touch, there's no solutions. You don't have anything in common. Okay, moving down to 7 through 10. Okay, so let's do 7 and 9 here, because 7 and 8 are similar, and 9 and 10, we might do 7 and 8 and 9. Okay, so we want to solve by substituting. So what that means is you see they already have y by itself. Y here is equal to x minus 4, so let's take that x minus 4 and plug it in for y. So instead of it being y equals x squared minus 4x, we're going to put x minus 4 equals, let's see, x minus 4 equals x squared minus 4x. Now we have all x's. We don't have any y's at all anymore. So we can just go ahead and get it equal to 0 by subtracting x on both sides and adding 4 to both sides. So 0 equals x squared minus 5x plus 4. And we need it to equal to 0 because that's how we solve a quadratic. We use the zero product property by like factoring, or we learned yesterday about quadratic formula. We've learned a lot of different ways to solve this equation. Square roots, completing the square, but this one actually does factor. If you put this 4 on top and put the negative 5 at the bottom, negative 4 and negative 1 would be two factors. And so I would say that your parentheses would be x with a negative 4 and x with a negative 1, and it equals 0. Okay, so your factors are negative, but what's going to make each parenthesis 0 is our answer. So what's going to make this first one 0 is going to be a positive 4. It's going to make the second one 0 as a positive 1. Those are your two solutions. So we took this x minus 4 and we plugged it into y. Okay, we made a new equation with just x's, and then we solved it. So if we look at 8, I would take out the y and plug in the 5 minus x. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit more intense because it's going to be 5 minus x squared because we have y squared. So it's going to be x squared. Let's see, make it big enough for you. X squared. Again, you can pause the video and go back to spots and stuff if you need to. Plus, now instead of y squared, we're going to put in 5 minus x. But we have to square that 5 minus x because it was normally y squared. And then equals 25. Now this actually might work out okay, but let's see. We have to square this. So 5 minus x times another 5 minus x. That's how you square something. You multiply it twice. And now we got to do FOIL. 25 minus 5x minus another 5x, and then plus x squared. And then we had another x squared that we have here. So you now have 2x squareds, one in the front, one in the back. So 2x squareds. No, you got negative 10x. Those don't cancel, you add them. Plus 25 equals 25. When you subtract 25 on both sides, that's a good thing. It gets you 0. So 2x squared minus 10x equals 0. To solve this one, I would take out a GCF, which is a 2 and an x. You can divide them both by 2x. So that is your GCF. If you take out a 2x, so if you divide, this 2's cancel and one of the x's cancels, but you're still going to have an x on top. Here, negative 10 and 2 gives you a negative 5. And the x's will cancel out. Equals 0. So what's going to make this equal 0 is a 5. That's one answer. What's going to make this equal 0 is a 0. That's another answer. So your two answers there are 0 and 5. And that's just by doing substitution. Now 9 and 10 are actually much easier because they already tell you what x is. And so you can just plug that straight in there and just use square roots. So let me show you 9. Okay, so I'll do 9 over here. So you can see it, x equals 1. So I'm going to put a 1 in here. Okay, so this 1 right there is going to go into that. And so I'm going to put 1 squared instead of x squared. So 1 squared plus y squared equals 1. Okay, so 1 squared is 1. So if I subtract 1 on both sides, y squared equals 0. If you square root that, y is going to still equal 0. So y equals 0 and x equals 1. Okay, so you really only have one solution for x and one solution for y there. Because x has to be 1, therefore y has to be 0. Now, number 10, you're just going to plug in a 7 for your y value. And you will have to do some solving on that one, so I will look at number 10 with you. I'll do that over here. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. It's going to be 3x minus 6 equals, and then it's going to be 4x squared, and then minus y is going to be minus 7. So we need to get it equal to 0 because it's got an x squared in it. That means we got to get 0. So I need to subtract 3x, and I need to add 6. So that's going to give me 0 equals, I got 4x squared, I got negative 3x, and I got negative 1. Now I would, since I'm used to this stuff, I would always use factoring to try to see if it works. If factoring doesn't work, then I go to quadratic formula. Because your quadratic formula we learned yesterday, this is your A, that's your B, and that's your C. And if you remember back from yesterday, we had this formula right here that we could just plug it in and solve it. But factoring is easier if you can factor it. So I would try factoring to see if I could find two factors of that trinomial. So I would need to use my star method because there's a number in front of x squared. And so we would multiply the first number times the last number would be negative 4, and negative 3 is the middle number. 4x is on the top because that's the beginning of our trinomial there. So that's what we're going to put on top of both sides. Now we need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 4. So I'm thinking negative 4 times positive 1. That multiplies to negative 4, and it has to add up to negative 3, which those do. So factoring does work. And this is a fraction that I could reduce by 4. So you're just going to get x minus 1. This fraction can't be reduced. So 4x plus 1 is done. Now that we have our two factors, we can say, well, what's going to make that equal 0 is going to be a 1. That's one solution. And what's going to make this equal 0? We have to subtract 1 on both sides. 4x equals negative 1 divided by 4. So x is negative 1/4. So there's your second answer. So you got 1 and negative 1/4. Okay, numbers 11 through 14, they're asking you to use elimination, which means you're going to try to line up and eliminate a variable, which in this first one is actually kind of nice because negative y and positive y cancel out. So you would have x squared minus 5x and minus 1x would be minus 6x, and then equals negative 9. And now you just have x's. So now you can actually solve that one with, we can add 9 to both sides to get it equal to 0. X squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0. We could factor that 9. Two numbers that multiply to give us 9 that would add up to negative 6 would be two negative 3's. So it's x minus 3 squared, because there's both of them are negative 3, so I can put the little squared there. And then what would make this 0 is just a 3. So this answer, x equals 3. Okay, so we're not doing 15. You can get rid of that one. No, we won't do the 13 or 14 either. On number 12, again, you would combine the fractions, and the y's would actually cancel out, leaving you with 0. So I'm going to do 12 down here at the bottom. So you would end up with a negative 4x squared, which we're going to have to change because we don't want negative x. We don't want a negative x squared. Positive 3x, and then we have a plus 1. I mean, plus 1, plus 3x because we have x and 2x made the 3x. Negative 7 and 8 give us positive 1, and it equals 0. But we need to multiply both sides by negative 1 because we do not want the front term to be negative. So now that'll give us a positive 4x squared, negative 3x, negative 1. Just changes all the signs. Multiplying by a negative 1 will basically just change all of the different signs. Now, if you look at that, we can, again, try to factor that with a star. I think that's the easiest way. 4 times negative 1 would be a negative 4 on top. Negative 3 goes to the bottom. Your 4x and your 4x. And again, you're going to get negative 4 and 1. So you're getting the same two parentheses that we got on the last one. X minus 1 and 4x plus 1 is the exact same two. We had the exact same here. 4x squared minus 3x minus 1, 4x squared minus 3x minus 1. So yeah, same answer would be 1 and negative 1/4. So we have x equals 1 and negative 1/4. Those are the answers we got last time. Okay, so that's 3.5a. 3.6a is actually a little bit more graphing related. So we're just going to snip a few of those graphs and just put those straight onto the Google Doc. Okay, so let's go to our Desmos. And they just said graph the inequality. So y is greater than x squared. So if I get rid of all this stuff, oops, okay, y greater than x would look like that. They want y is greater than x squared. So I gotta do the little shift 6 to get to the exponent, and it's squared. Now you can see, well, number 1, it's a dotted line because it doesn't equal, it's just greater. And greater meaning the above the vertex ones. So that would be your graph. Anything inside of this area is a solution. If I put in 0, 2 right here, this point right here, it would be a solution. If I put a 0 here and a 2 here, 2 is greater than 0, and that's going to work for any point inside. Okay, so what I would then do is do my screenshot, go back to my Google Doc, and find 3.6. There it is, and we go to number 1 there, and I'm just going to edit and paste it. And there's number 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all like that. They're all going to be U-shaped curves shaded one way or the other. The 1 and the 4 are going to be dotted lines. 2 and 3 are going to be solid lines because they actually have an equals under it. Okay, so we got to show you how to get the equal sign. So let's look at that one. Number 2, y is less than or equal to negative 3x squared. So first off, you might need to go down to the, let's see, I don't know if I can do this here. It's supposed to be there's supposed to be a keyboard down here, but that's for my recorder, so I don't see the keyboard at the moment. So I don't know if it's going to let me do that. Less than or equal to right there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that right now. I don't think so. Okay, but on your Desmos, you're going to see a little keyboard at the bottom. Let me just check one thing here. Yeah, right here. So let me show it to you in here. So y, and then you're going to go to this keyboard because you're going to see the keyboard, and there's your less than or equal to. It's actually there for you. And then negative 3, and then x, and then squared. And you can see that that one's a solid line graph. Okay, and it's shaded Less than is the down below the vertex. Okay, so that's the shaded part there. You would take a screenshot of that. Even if it's in your website, you can still take a screenshot or a snipping tool of it. You can just put that right in there. This is number 2. Just wanted you to see how to do the less than or equal to. And there's the keyboard button right there. So on Desmos, you've got the little keyboard button right in there. And that's where you're going to get a lot of symbols. And you can even do squared. So if you don't know how to do the shift and 6, there's your squared button right there. You can just square them there. Okay, so that is first 4. Then numbers 5 and 6. Use the graph to write it inequality in terms of f of x with p as a solution. Okay, so this will just be greater than because it's above the vertex there. Okay, so we would just put y is greater than or equal to because it's solid. Okay, and this time the point's below it, so y is less than or equal to and x squared. And actually, it's over 3 units. So it's 3 to the right. So we would actually put just because we know our transformations, it would be x minus 3 and then squared. Okay, that's because that's over here. Let me see this first one. Yeah, the first one is probably up over 2 and up 4. This is probably up 1 and over 2. So it's probably 1 to the right, and no, 2 to the right. Oops, 2 to the right, and 1 up. So 2 to the right and 1 up. And it would be a less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, because it's above the vertex. Okay, so there's 5 and 6. 7 and 8. So for 7 and 8, you're going to look for where we have the double shaded area. Now I'm going to keep going with Desmos on my website because it shows me my keyboard there. So y is less than or equal to negative 2x squared. Okay, so y less than or equal to 2x squared. And you can hit the little A button there. Okay, so let's zoom out a little so we can actually see that. Okay, that's the first one. Second one is greater than x squared minus 3. Greater than x squared minus 3. So just greater than. You can do the keyboard if you want to. And then it's just x squared minus 3. So x squared. I could hit the squared button here too. X squared and then minus 3. So you can see that there's an area that's darker than the rest. That's the area where both graphs are correct. This light area in here is just the right answer to the purple one. Okay, this light green out here is only the right answer to the green one. But this double shaded darker area is the answer to both. So you'd be looking for the double shaded area. And then you could just screenshot that. And we put that onto, what number was that? That was number 7. So we go down to number 7 and we hit Control V or paste, edit, paste, and then there's your graph for that one. So that's how you're going to do 7 and 8. 9 through 12, you're just solving. So they're just trying to get you used to solving with either square roots or factoring. So for number 9, I would actually divide 9 on both sides. So you get x squared is greater than 16/9. And then I would square root both sides. So x is greater than plus or minus 4/3. Because 16, square root of 16 is 4, square root of 9 is 3. So x is greater than positive or negative 4/3. 11, you'd want to get it equal to 0. So you're going to have to add 21 to both sides. So I'll do 11 down here. Okay, so let's come down here. So you would get x squared plus 10x plus 21 is less than or equal to 0. And the only time you'd switch the sign is if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, not if you're adding. So we're going to be leaving that the way it is. Okay, so let's move up just so you can see it better. I would try to factor that. I would try to look for two numbers that would multiply to give me 21 that would add up to 10. And I think 7 and 3 are perfect. 7 times 3, 21, 7 plus 3, 10. So x plus 7 and x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So what would make each one 0? It would be a negative 7, and it would be a negative 3. So x less than or equal to negative 7, x less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, so that's how you would do 9, 10, 11, and 12. So the way I did 11, you're going to do the same thing for 10 and 12. And then 13 through 16, we're not going to do 17. So 13 through 16, we're just going to graph and then put the screenshots. So I'll just do the first one for you because it's just simply a graph. So for 13, let's go back to my website. We want x squared minus 2x plus 2. That was the wrong one right here. So exit out. 13, it'll be x squared. So if you want your keyboard, you could hit x squared like that if you want to. Minus 2x and then plus 2. Greater than 0. We need to put a y there. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, this one is not going to hit the y-axis. Okay, so what I'm going to do for you guys, because these last 4 we're not going to worry about because we don't have a y into these graphs. So we're going to cross them out for you. So we don't have to do those. And then we're going to go down to, and that's it for those, because you're going to do the puzzle. So you can do all the ones on the puzzle for 3.5 and 3.6. Most of them are just going to be on the graphs, so you can just do the Desmos graphs. All right, there's 3.5 and 3.6a. So just copy down the work that I have here. Just put your screenshots of the graphs on the Google Doc. You're going to have a Google Doc for your graphs here. So even when you do the puzzle, you're going to put your puzzle ones on there too. Even though that's assignment 2, you're going to put your puzzle graphs here as well. So that is it for 3.5 and 3.6. So you'll work on the puzzle and then some delta math. Thanks, guys.